check your transmission fluid. You want to slide your driver's seat forward, and that'll make it easier to remove this panel. Just set it aside. You'll have a push pin here. I have a push pin here. Lift this up, there's enough flex in it. And there's two push pins here. Just a tip. Pull out on the panel and it'll grab the insert while you unscrew the screw. Okay. You have a push pin here. And then you have two 10mm bolts, one here and one over up front. Okay, so then this will pop away, and then you can access your oil filter and dipstick for checking. So you don't have to remove this panel completely, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fasteners. So I'll show you where the oil filter is on the 2024s. It's right next to the transmission dipstick, and it's a standard Yamaha engine oil filter for the transmission. And the nice thing about the scheduled maintenance is you change the transmission oil and filter on the same schedule as your engine oil and filter. Just another tip to hold this panel back. I just put the seat belt on either side and that's holding it out of my way. Let me tell you guys, the first time you do this, you're going to be cussing, swearing, and getting some blood in your knuckles. It's great that they're using a standard spin-on oil filter, but this thing is a major pain in the ass to remove. It's because, as we know, that Yamaha's employed the strongest person in the universe to install these oil filters. And they did such a great job on the engine, tightening that filter, that they promoted them to the transmission assembly line to install these filters. So, my tried and true go-to cup style oil filter. This has never failed me, ever. This works on Toyota oil filters, Toyota cars, and I've always used it for my Yamahas. It's never failed me. And I choose this style over the stamped steel because the stamped steel will deform and it'll slip on the end. I've never had these cast ones slip. So here's a problem with using this. There's not enough space between the transmission case and the oil filter for this to fit between. I would have to grind this outer ring off for this to work. So I said, you know what? I'll go down to my local hardware store and get a stamped steel oil filter wrench, the cap style. As it turns out, they're out of those. So I tried this. This didn't work because when you get it on there, you don't have enough leverage to angle it back and forth to get. And I know you guys love these death killers. I hate these because I have had a lot of guys. There's typically on an engine, the oil sending unit is right by the oil filter, and guys have been breaking the oil sending unit using these. But even this won't work because it won't fit between this housing and the oil filter. Now, you could remove all this bodywork, remove the seat, remove the bodywork, and maybe get it at this angle, but it's still a pain in the butt. Enter your claw. And the claw works, but you have to be careful because the claws can also get caught between the housing and the filter. So you got to clock it right to where it's in this position. This literally took me an hour to get this loose enough to do by hand. So just be careful with this when you're doing it, that this bottom finger, as you're loosening it, doesn't hit the transmission housing. But, you know, your first go-to tool is the stamped steel cap style filter wrench. And it has to be the stamped steel kind because the cast is too thick. And you can use this, but as you can see, you're gonna mangle the oil filter using this. And I had to get it in an angle to grab. I couldn't get it straight on. So, what a nightmare. You could remove the plastic skids below to catch the oil. I'm just going to stuff some rags in there, and hopefully, because the oil filter's on top, as it sits, the oil drains out, so there won't be a lot of spillage. The other thing is you have the wiring here in the way, so that even adds to more frustration that you have to be careful not to break the wires harness. So let's remove this transmission oil filter. I'm going to try and angle it. Yeah, already a good amount of oil is coming out. There you go. So you have a rubber transmission mount here, and if oil gets on there, it's going to deteriorate the rubber. So this is where the mount is right here. You want to clean the oil off of that. So I'm just going to get a piece of plastic here to cover the boss and spray some cleaner, degreaser. So that rubber bushing doesn't deteriorate from oil. Wash this area out after you're done changing the oil and oil filter. Standard engine oil filter they use in the transmission. You can see how mangled I had to get this to get it out. So now I'm going to install the new oil filter hand tight. And that's it. And then we'll drain the oil and then fill. The transmission drain plug's in the middle, and that's 12 millimeter. Next I'm going to replace the transmission drain plug. So I'm going to wipe the surface. And I'm reusing my copper washer. I've never had an issue reusing these. They're soft copper for a reason. They'll conform to the irregularities of the surface. So next I'm going to fill the transmission. I just like to keep my funnels in a fresh oil filter bottle with a bag over it. That way I don't have to keep wiping them clean. This takes 3.6 quarts with oil filter change. I'm going to be filling with AMSOIL 10W40 synthetic, and this is JSO MA rated for wet clutches. And then I'm also going to put in engine butter by UTV Engineering. This is wet clutch safe, and it's 2 ounces per quart of oil. So capacity is 3.6 with an oil and filter change. I stopped at 3.25, and I'm glad I stopped there because it's at the full mark. What I'll do is I'll drive this around and double check it again and top it off as necessary. So if went for a small drive, came back, and let's check the level. And get that closer. Looks like it could use just a little top off, not a whole bunch.